From speed-running lung cancer for Lisa, to the three Simpson kids almost getting burned alive on TV. Homer and Marge are about as fit to parent as Barney is to drive. And today, I'm gonna do what CPS should have done years ago. Hold this maniac mom and diabolical dad accountable for every single crime they've committed against their own children. By the end, we'll see just how much jail time these sad excuses for parents have racked up and whether Marge or Homer is the worst parent, starting with that time they kicked their 10-year-old out of the Fratkin house. In On a Clear Day I Can't See My Sister, Bart is sort of being the worst brother ever. After years of teasing and humiliation, this is the final straw for Lisa, and she does what every little sister dreams of doing. She gets a restraining order against her big bro.
Bart Simpson, this is a restraining order. From now on, you must stay at least 20 feet away from your sister.
Instead of getting a restraining order lifted and teaching Bart a lesson by taking away his toys,
with her at all times, so Bart is forced to eat lunch in the pouring rain, ride a shopping cart to school, and even browse the gays section of the library. And just when he thought things couldn't get possibly any worse, his super loving parents literally force him to live outside like an animal. Pretty scary out here, Dad. Dad. Then they throw a __ party to celebrate. In the end, Lisa misses Bart too much and burns up the restraining order. If she hadn't, these parents of the year would probably still have him living outside like Jesse that one time from Breaking Bad. Both Homer and Marge deserve like 15 years for cruelly forcing their kid to live outside in the cold. Like, he was out there for so long, he literally started becoming feral. Homer would also face child abuse charges for building that sharp poke pole that ended up giving Bart severe nerve damage. Afraid your arm has sustained extensive nerve damage.
Homer would also face child abuse charges for building that sharp poke pole that ended up giving Bart severe nerve damage.
Afraid your arm has sustained extensive nerve damage.
The guy probably took himself to the doctors as well. While his parents don't really care about his health and well-being, they're not all bad. What other kid can say their parents let them have a pet elephant? The ones who belong to sane, responsible mothers and fathers? Well, in Bart Gets an Elephant, Bart Gets an Elephant. From a radio contest. Bart names his new pet Stampy, but Homer can only afford to feed one elephant in the house, and that's him. That means it's off to the ivory dealer for Bart's new best friend.
I can't do this. Stampy is my friend.
Bart and Stampy ran away in the night, and Homer agreed to send them to a sanctuary instead. He already deserves jail for owning an illegal wild animal than trying to kill it, but CPS are here to protect kids, not elephants. Keeping a 13,000-pound elephant with two small children and a crawling infant is just asking for them to be crushed to death. This is blatant child endangerment on both Homer and Marge's part, so they each get another 9 years. Since we're already on the subject of exotic animals, why don't we talk about that time Marge's negligence led to Maggie coming face to face with a full-blown tiger? In the episode where Burns opens a casino, Marge becomes addicted to gambling, and while she's glued to a slot machine, Maggie crawls away straight into the jaws of tonight's circus act. Imagine being such a terrible parent, a raging alcoholic has to step in and save your kid for you. Forgetting the whole tiger thing, Marge simply bringing Maggie to the casino in the first place is a crime as she's
to the delinquency of a minor, which sounds hilarious. I mean, we're talking about a baby here, but hey, law is the law. Maggie almost getting mauled by a tiger on her mother's watch would of course lead to charges of child neglect and child endangerment. But this gambling story doesn't end here. Marge actually becomes so addicted to gambling that she refuses to leave the casino at closing time. A week later, she's still glued to the slot machine, and the house looks like this. Do you get the feeling this family is disintegrating? There's nothing to eat for breakfast. Without Marge home to stop him from being stupid, Homer grabs a shotgun and tries to shoot the imaginary boogeyman from Lisa's nightmare. The next day, he attempts to make her costume for the geography state pageant. Hello, Florida. I'm not a state. I'm a monster. I mean, have you seen some parts of Florida? What am I doing? I'd say this costume is pretty darn accurate. While Lisa was in tears about her extremely poorly crafted costume, sometimes her dad's stupidity does pay off. Two students who obviously had no help from their parents, Lisa Simpson and Ralph Wiggum. Of course, 99% of the time, Homer's stupid brain leads to
endangerment, so Homer gets another 9 years for putting his 3 kids in danger. At least Marge got over her gambling problem by the end of the episode. Homer can't fix the crayon stuck in his brain. Well, actually he can, he just doesn't want to. I kinda wish he would though. Imagine how much safer 742 Evergreen Terrace would be without this loving idiot living in it.
Okay, open your eyes.
In the Cartridge Family, Homer has brought a gun to protect the family, but the only threat they need protecting from is his stupid ass. Marge confiscates the gun from her dumb husband before he accidentally blows someone's head off, but she gives it back. Big mistake. 5 minutes later, this vile fiend is already contemplating committing the crime of the century.
Shoot, just take the money and get out.
What? Oh, Pooh, I would never. Or would I?
Back home, Homer does good deeds with his gun, like helping Lisa get her basketball off the roof and executing an evil dinner plate.
See you in hell, dinner plate.
It's clear by now that this absolute doofus is too dangerous to even own a water pistol, let alone a real firearm. And it's only a matter of time before somebody dies. And that somebody's definitely gonna be Marge.
No guns at the dinner table.
Oops.
Fearing for everyone's lives, Marge makes Homer promise to get rid of the gun. He's a sneak
Pistol, let alone a real firearm. And it's only a matter of time before somebody dies. And that somebody's definitely going to be Marge. No guns at the dinner table. Oops. Fearing for everyone's lives, Marge makes Homer promise to get rid of the gun. He's a sneaky, selfish jerk though, and hides the pistol in a super top secret place Sherlock himself wouldn't even think to look. The bottom drawer of the refrigerator. Hello? And the next marksman is William Tell Jr. Jinx. Leaving his gun just lying around for the kids to find is blatant negligence. And Homer would be facing another 9 years for endangering all 3 of his kids. He got rid of the gun for good by the end of the episode. But imagine if Maggie found it instead of Bart. Maybe she would have finally assassinated Mr. Burns for good. Taking the candy proved exceedingly difficult. Music. Little Miss Crime Lord over here was too young to be held criminally responsible for the attempted murder. But if you remember, the shooting only happened because Marge had left Maggie in the car alone while she went looking for Homer and the others. Music. 20 states have made it illegal to leave a child alone in the car, even for a short amount of time. So Ma would be facing up to a year in the slammer for this crime. While Maggie
he mistakes babies for black furry things that meow.
Listen to her purring like a kitten.
Grandpa!
Homer and Marge didn't know about the babysitter bandit, but they do know that Abe is totally senile and leaving their kids in his care gets them both another 9 years. And Abe isn't the only family member that's gonna get Homer and Marge in trouble with the CPS. You all know Farty and Smelma. Sorry, I mean Patty and Selma. Can you just play the clip?
Although we'll croak.
Thank you. Those gals' lungs make Barney's liver seem like it's a perfect condition. Exposing kids to secondhand smoke is actually considered a form of child abuse in some states, so we'll add another 40 years to these trash parents' sentences. Of course, the kids aren't any safer with their relatives than they are with their own father. Remember when this idiot had one job? Watch the freaking baby? Yeah, Marge had left the house for about 5 minutes, and Maggie was already cruising down Main Street.
Oh my lord!
I guess Maggie's driving away.
Remember when this idiot had one job? Watch the freaking baby. Yeah. Margin left the house for about 5 minutes and Maggie was already cruising down Main Street. Oh my lord. Hey, I guess Maggie driving away made the older kids taking off in an RV not seem so bad. What about my womanly needs? That happened in the episode Mobile Homer. Bart and Lisa couldn't take their parents fighting and scarily bad impressions of one another anymore. Hey, Bart Simpson. Don't eat off the floor. So, they stole the RV that was tearing their marriage apart, then flew straight off a fracking cliff. Accidentally? Of course, since we're already on the subject of near-fatal accidents. Homer in his car, man, what can I say? He's been in dozens upon dozens of crashes. When it finally does get wrecked beyond repair, at least he can buy a new one. You can't replace your wife and kid as easily though. Applause, what the cartoon physics saves the Simpsons like it always does. But even I'm stumped as to how they survived this deadly car crash. Music, Cletus pulled the Simpsons from their car before they all drowned. And honestly, Homer should have just lied and said he had been drinking. Imagine almost
should kill it!
Now, I'm not sure what's more stupid, that or the time that Homer accidentally put Maggie up for adoption. As we all know, Homer Simpson is incompetent at literally everything. Dude's a lazy fricker. That means Marge has to do all the cooking, cleaning, and childcare. However, in Gone Maggie Gone, she becomes blind after staring at an eclipse without eye protection.
Beautiful.
Now it's up to Homer to do everything around the house. Not even 24 hours pass by with him in charge, and the family is already at risk of the bubonic plague. The rats scatter when Homer says he's going out to buy rat poison, but simply shopping with a dog and baby at the same time is more difficult than solving a Rubik's Cube, at least for this incompetent fool.
Why did I bring the baby and the dog to the poison store?
Homer is too heavy to get across the lake with the baby, dog, and poison, so he rows Maggie to the other side, leaves her on the doorstep of a nunnery, then goes back for Santa's little helper. Yeah, we all know where this story's heading.
Look at that. One of God's discarded miracles.
Lisa went undercover as a nun to try and save Maggie, but it was Marge that eventually got her back. This isn't the 18th century anymore, so leaving Maggie at the doorstep of a nunnery wouldn't count as a legal adoption process. Instead, Homer would be looking at 5 years for child abandonment, even though it was an accident.
The legal adoption process. Instead, Homer would be looking at 5 years for child abandonment. Even though it was an accident, let's be honest, giving Maggie up for adoption was the best decision Homer has ever made as a parent. His choices in the episode Homer Alone are questionable, to say the least. In this episode, constant housework drives Marge insane, and she endangers Maggie by suddenly stopping the car in the middle of the highway. Music. Hours later, Homer coaxes her out of the car, and she decides that she needs a vacation away from her family. Bart and Lisa are left at the mercy of Patty and Selma and Maggie. She's left in the care of an nincompoop who eats all her baby food and almost suffocates her to death. Homer even invites the town drunk over, and they get totally hammered and wreck the house. Somehow he still hasn't killed Maggie and tucks her into bed with a lullaby. Homer gets another 10 years for getting drunk when he's got a baby to look after. At 11:45 a.m. the next day, this hungover dad finally comes to give Maggie her morning 9 a.m. feeding, but she's escaped and gone looking for the only competent parent she has. Homer searches high and low for Maggie, but she's nowhere to be
Right before Marge is due back from her vacay.
Bingo! Oh, Maggie!
The kiss gets Homer off the hook for neglect, but we're still charging him, obviously. When Marge came back, all 3 of her kids were slightly mentally disturbed, but thankfully still in one piece. Speaking of mentally disturbed children, though, remember that episode where Homer and Marge thought Bart was more nuts than the crazy cat lady? In Paths of Glory, Bart finds an old diary in an abandoned insane asylum containing some very messed up and disturbing confessions from a former patient.
The Diary of Nathan Little.
I pushed a vagabond under a trolley.
When Wickham comes to collect Ralphie, he finds the diary, and believing it was written by Bart, he goes to the Simpson house and breaks some terrible news to Marge.
Yeah, these are pages from your son's diary. I'm afraid they very clearly show him to be a sociopath.
Deeply concerned for their son's mental health, but also poor Homer and Marge print out an online sociopath test for Bart to take instead of taking him to a psychiatrist for a proper diagnosis. It's disguised as a fun sports quiz, but when Bart finds out what it's truly for, he fakes all the answers out of spite and gets his very first 100% on a test.
psychiatrist for a proper diagnosis.
Whatever
It's
Bart
disguised as a fun sports quiz,
Fearing their evil
but when Bart
great
finds
son
out what
will
it's
set them
truly
on fire
for,
with a
he fakes all the answers out of spite and gets his very first 100% on a
So now he's
test.
free to do whatever the hell he
Oh my
wants.
God,
However,
what do we
Bart's
do?
bad behavior becomes
Whatever
too much
Bart
to
wants.
handle, and his parents-
Fearing their evil, depraved son will set them on fire with his sociopathic mind. Homer and Marge desperately try not to piss him off. So now he's free to do whatever the hell he wants. However, Bart's bad behavior becomes too much to handle, and his parents throw a fake birthday party to sneakily have him committed to an insane asylum. What is this? Is it an asylum? They don't properly vet the place. So when Bart is inside, he and all the other mentally ill children don't get therapy at all. They just get used by the US government to test new Air Force drone simulators. That was no simulation. You mean we were blowing up real stuff? Bart breaks down thinking he just mass murdered a bunch of real people and begs to go home. The government reveals the airstrikes really were a simulation, and this was all just a test to see if Bart really was a sociopath. As he's a healthy normal boy after all, Bart is released from the asylum and goes straight back to his parents' arms with no hard feelings. Having your own kid thrown in the nut house. Oh wow, what a day. Obviously, an online test is not an accurate way to diagnose someone with a mental disorder. So, forcing Bart into an asylum without medical justification would actually be considered a form of false imprisonment. And Omar and Marge could both get up to 10 years in the big house for that. We're at the halfway point now, guys. And these two monsters have already been punished for their bad parenting in the show. Hey, the judge wants you to bend over so people can spank you from their cars.
Nightmare fuel ways. In Treehouse of Horror Season 34, Marge straight up tries to butcher her sweet baby Maggie with a hatchet.
Time to put the baby down.
She was possessed by an evil spirit, but the ghost made me do it would never be a real defense in court. So Marge gets 30 years for trying to murder Maggie. Now, if you thought that was terrifying, just wait till you see what Homer did in Treehouse of Horror 5. The Simpsons have arrived at Mr. Burns' Creek Mountain Lodge, where Homer will be working as the winter caretaker.
Usually the blood gets off at the second floor.
For those of you who don't know, this episode's based on The Shining, and if Homer is Jack Torrance and Willie is Dick, then Bart has got to be the little boy with The Shining, right?
And chop them all into haggis.
What's haggis?
You read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
After cutting the TV signals and depleting their beer supply, Smithers and Burns leave, wondering whether doing the same thing last time caused the previous caretaker to go insane and murder his family. Hey, at least that guy probably lasted, I don't know, a few weeks before slipping into insanity. 2 minutes after discovering there's no TV and beer, Homer completely snaps.
I'll kill all of you! Sorry.
Marge obviously gets 3 counts of child endangerment for not immediately leaving the second Homer vowed to kill them all. Honestly, the family took the threat surprisingly well. Homer, however, ain't adjusting to booze and TV-free life so smoothly.
Mind if I do?
Mind you, it hasn't even been 24 hours yet. Jeez, imagine if it were Barney stuck here instead of Homer. Everyone would have been slaughtered in 5 minutes. Marge locks crazy Homer in the pantry, giving her ample time to escape with kids, but oh no.
Chili will be good tonight.
Yep, she's gone to cook chili instead of getting her kids away from a murderous madman. The next morning, the ghosts of the lodge free Homer from the pantry, and he grabs an axe ready to replicate the most iconic scene from the movie, but madman or not, at the end of the day, he's still the same old stupid Homer.
Here's Johnny! Down!
Homer eventually finds the room his family's staying in and hacks down the doorway to murder them all. Only now does Mom of the Year finally decide to call the fracking cops, and like always, Wiggum is a big, big help.
My husband is on a murderous rampage. Over.
Oh, well, thank God that's over.
Willie comes running in to save the little fat boy and his family. Kind of stupid to show up without even one weapon, though.
But you got it!
Homer chases the family through the snow, and for a 400-pound tub of lard, he moves pretty dang fast. Little Lisa's about to be bludgeoned to death, but Kent Brockman, of all people, shows up to save her life.
Television!
Next, the Simpsons snuggle down in the snow to watch some TV for perhaps a little too long.
It's the Tony Awards.
The episode ends there, so we don't know if Homer thawed out and tried to kill his family again. Both parents, however, are getting 30 years for letting their 3 kids freeze. That crime is obviously nothing compared to Homer trying to murder his family just because there was no TV or beer. It might accidentally be the most ridiculously evil crime on this channel, and somehow the events of this next episode seem 10 times more heinous even though nobody died. So which Simpson kid is going to be the victim of this next crime? It ain't Bart, Lisa, or Maggie, so who is it? Well, it's Homer and Marge's 4th child. You know, the one they chained up in the attic. In Treehouse of Horror 7, Bart and Lisa have gone looking for a...
Little Lisa is about to be bludgeoned to death, but Kent Brockman of all people shows up to save her life. Star Television. Next, the Simpsons snuggle down in the snow to watch some TV for perhaps a little too long. It's the Tony Awards. The episode ends there, so we don't know if Homer thawed out and tried to kill his family again. Both parents, however, are getting 30 years for letting their 3 kids freeze. That crime is obviously nothing compared to Homer trying to murder his family just because there was no TV or beer. It might accidentally be the most ridiculously evil crime on this channel. And somehow the events of this next episode seem 10 times more heinous even though nobody died. So, which Simpson kid is going to be the victim of this next crime? I mean, it ain't Bart, Lisa, or Maggie. So, who is it? Well, it's Homer and Margie's 4th child. You know, the one they chained up in the attic. In Treehouse of Horror 7, Bart and Lisa have gone looking for a monster in the attic, but it escapes. They then discover it wasn't a monster at all. It was their own brother, Bart's evil Siamese twin, Hugo. I think I'll bottle feed that one. Homer and Marge couldn't really be bothered to deal with raising a mentally disturbed child, so they did the only humane thing any parent would have done. chained Hugo up in the attic like an animal and fed him a bucket of fish heads once a week. Keeping their own kid chained up in the attic, referring to him as it, and feeding him a diet
in the attic.
Hey, can I have some turkey?
Oh, you finish your fish heads, then we'll talk.
Homer and Marge kept Hugo in prison in the attic for 10 years, so Bart didn't have it nearly as bad. If CPS found out these parents had chained their sons in the attic and fed them only once a week, charges of child neglect, child abuse, and false imprisonment would certainly be filed, and Homer and Marge would be undoubtedly making national headlines for being so frackin' evil. Now, I can't possibly make a video trash talking the Simpsons' lack of parenting skills without discussing that 90-minute tutorial they gave on how not to parent. I'm talking about the Simpsons movie. Skip just 5 minutes past the opening credits, and Homer's already on the verge of killing his baby daughter. Sinkholes are incredibly dangerous. Definitely not the kind of place you want to stuff a baby into. He obviously can't protect his baby from Mother Nature, but what about protecting his son from the forces of gravity? Just when you think a parent couldn't get any stupider, Homer has basically decided to serve Bart on a silver platter to PDF files. Code word for, you know.
I dare you to skateboard to Krusty Burger and back. Naked.
So, daring your kid to skateboard naked in public is definitely going to raise some eyebrows at CPS. Homer would probably be investigated just to make sure he's not a PDF file himself. Then he'd be nailed for contributing to the delinquency of a minor. I mean, he totally instigated this hilarious yet terrible, terrible crime. This deadbeat dad